Well, hello, YouTube. My name is Kerry Martin, and this is Prophecy Montana. So, aliens in the White House, is it true? Is it true that aliens are in the White House? That's the question that we're going to ask today. You know, okay, so sometime back, you guys remember the stimulus bill that was passed, and I guess it included something like $600 to everybody here in the States. Anyways, there was some 50,000 pages or 5,000, 5,000, all right, some 5,000 pages or whatever in that whole stimulus bill. And there was a lot of sections in there that talked about where the money was going to go and all that sort of stuff, you know, the usual stuff that you would expect in a stimulus bill. There was also a few other things. And from what has been reported, there's been apparently a section in there that actually mentioned how they were going to open up to the public some of these classified documents on alien existence. And and I don't know if you guys remember, but sometimes back there was the Israeli Secretary of Defense, and we'll just pull this up on all right, so this is NBC News, a very trusted source, right? Tongue-in-cheek. Aliens exist, and Trump almost let it slip, says Israeli professor and former space official. A former Israeli space security chief has sent eyebrows shooting heavenward by saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation. All right. You guys remember the whole Space Force idea that Trump came up with? The unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Haim Eshed, former head of Israel's Defense Ministry Space Directorate, told Israel's Yediot Aharonot newspaper. Wow, I'm butchering those words. The interview in Hebrew ran on Friday and gained traction after parts were published in English by the Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. A respected professor and retired general, Eshed, said the aliens were equally curious about humanity and were seeking to understand the fabric of the universe. Okay. And Eshed said an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens, they signed a contract with us to do experiments here, he said. Eshed added that President Donald Trump was aware of the extraterrestrials' existence and had been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to in order to prevent mass hysteria. All right. They have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are, Eshed said, referring to the Galactic Federation. The White House and Israeli officials did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. Sue Go, a spokesperson for the Pentagon, declined to comment. A spokesman for NASA said one of the agency's key goals was the search for life in the universe, but that it had not yet to find signs of extraterrestrial life. All right, and on and on. So what do we make of all this? Well, so I don't know if some of you guys are podcast listeners or not. I'm somewhat of an studious podcast listener. One of the people I listen to on a regular basis is Joe Rogan. And there was one sometime back. If you are a listener of Joe Rogan, you'd know which one. It was with Bob Lazar. And Bob Lazar, let me pull him up real quick. He claims that he worked in an area just north of the Area 51 that he claims that had these flying saucers, and he was part of the project. There he is right there. And this is Robert Scott Lazar, is an American conspiracy theorist who claims to have been hired in the late 1980s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology at what he described as a secret site called S4. Yeah, that's it, S4. So it was just a little north of the Area 51 there. And supposedly not owned, according to him, by the military. This was an area that was corporately owned. And so you can read through his stuff. You can watch the podcast of Joe Rogan. Now, here's what I find interesting about all of this. Sometime back, the Department of Defense or the DOJ, either one, I don't remember which one, but they released some documents, and it was aired by ABC and CNN, about the existence of extraterrestrials. And they even had some footage, some classified footage that was recently declassified, and they showed some, how the spaceship was flying around and whatnot. Now, I find all this really interesting because I myself have seen a UFO, all right, an unidentified flying object. Now, I never once for a minute thought that these were alien beings from outer space. And I'll tell you why I've come up with that conclusion. Because the Bible teaches that we as a planet, as a people, are under quarantine. Now, there are other beings besides us that live here. They're called angels. And there are evil angels and there are good angels. Now, what form do these angels take? Well, apparently they can take a lot of different forms. And they can even take the form of human beings. The Bible tells us, be not weary to entertain strangers, for in such some have entertained angels. I'm paraphrasing it. This is just off of memory, but I should look it up, huh? All right, so it's in Hebrews 13 and verse 2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. All right, so that's how it goes. And this is very interesting to me because these angels seem to be able to take different forms. Now, we read about some of these beings. Now, we know there's several types of angels in heaven. The word, incidentally, angel, just means messenger, all right? And so it could apply to any being. Even we can be a messenger. The word evangelical is the good message, or evangelize, to give the good message to. The root word there being angel. And we're looking at chapter 6 of Isaiah here. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord. Now, just a backstory on this. This is Isaiah the prophet. He actually went in vision before God, and this is what he's seen. I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. The train's that like the long robe that follows behind, like if you see a bride that's been wed, she has that train that's following behind her. She's walking down the aisle. Above it stood the seraphims. Okay, now the root word for seraph, or the word seraph, is actually is derived from what we use, the word serpent. Okay, and each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. So he has 6 wings, 2 on his face, 2 on his feet, and with 2 wings he flew. Now this is a great serpent. Probably it's describing a dragon. That's what I'm picturing. And one cried unto another, said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. And then I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, and mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. All right, so we get a little bit of a glimpse on these seraphims, and we know there's cherubims and possibly. Now, my idea of these angels is that, this is just me talking, all right? But my idea is that these are races of peoples, if you will, beings that God has created all throughout the universe and have come to serve in the office of God himself. All right. And there's all the different ranks you can imagine in his court. And they're probably resemble all different types of creatures and have all different types of technology, if you will, according to what they developed on their own worlds. And they've come to serve the king in this special way. This is just me thinking. But there's some biblical evidence for it. just not a lot, because the Bible is vague on who these creatures are. Now, let's fast forward to Earth. So we have these flying saucers flying around, and I actually seen a flying sphere one time, and I don't want to get too far into that, down that rabbit hole, but basically it was something from another world. And like I said, I never thought for a minute that this was extraterrestrial. But I mean, in the purest sense of the definition, it would be extraterrestrial. It's out of this world, right? That's all that word means. But as far as these little gray aliens, this idea that they came down and they gave mankind life, that's ludicrous. Life came from God. He created these beings as well. The other worlds are not visiting us. These would have to be limited to the demons and the angels that occupy our world and work on our behalf, if you will. And these angels, there are 2/3 that we know at least that are good angels, and 1/3 that are evil angels, because 1/3 of the evil angels fell from heaven when Lucifer fell. And so what kind of technology do these beings have? We don't really know. Maybe they do fly around in flying saucers. For all we know that they can be visible when they want to be, and they can be invisible when they want to be. So what do I think about all this stuff in the White House? If this is really taking place, if this is verified to be true, which there's a high likelihood that it actually is, because we're told in the Bible that Satan will impersonate Christ in those last days. And so this would be a perfect deception upon the world. If the devil was to come down, pretend he's an alien from outer space, right? But this is the true Christ, he says. This is what he's going to claim. And he walks out of his spaceship, whatever that looks like, and he's beautiful, and everybody that looks upon him is going to tell themselves, this has to be the Christ, the God that we've heard about, And of course it makes all this sense, because we watch all these TV shows, and that's all they can seem to talk about is aliens from morning to night. And I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. I don't want to fall into that category. There's a lot of conjecture in what I'm saying here. But, I don't want to step outside of the bounds of Bible truth. But much of what I'm saying is conjecture. So are they people from other worlds coming and visiting us? In a sense, yes, if they are demon angels, and they were actually exiled to this world after they were kicked out of heaven. So in a way, they've been here for a long time, and these demons can take many forms, and they can deceive us in many different ways, and they can even take the form of former loved ones and claim that they are such and such that came back to visit us, one of our loved ones, and they can, because we know at least about that, because remember King Saul, he went to a soothsayer, went to a witch actually, and he wanted to learn what his fate was going to be on the next day in the battlefield. And Samuel, the prophet, was conjured up. Of course, we're not sure if he could actually see Samuel or not, but an image was made. And this prophet, of course, brought bad news and said he would die on the battlefield. And of course he did. And but the Bible specifically warns against conjuring up these types of spirits. These are evil spirits working miracles. They're not our dead people. They're not our dead ones that have died long ago, that have come back and to warn us or give us instruction. This specifically is spiritualism, and it's forbidden as well in the Bible by God for very good reasons. Because we don't want to parlay with the devil. We don't want to get involved with any discourse, because his deceptions are powerful. And once we fall into that spell, we can be led astray pretty quickly. Let me tell you. Not that I have any experience. I've been led astray many times, but not in that particular way. Thank God. Okay, so, and I pray, folks, that you aren't either. And the main thing is that we keep our eye on God and put all these things in perspective, okay? These deceptions in these last days, they can be powerful. What we see and what we hear are going to be very convincing evidences that something is a certain way, and we can't really trust our feelings. We can't trust what we see or what we hear. We have to trust the Word of God, okay? The old saying, I'll believe it when I see it, does not apply to spiritual things. You can see something and it can be fake. Look at the deception that's rife in the world today. Do you think that it's any harder for the devil to deceive you in person than he is using his subjects that he has working for him on this earth? Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So it's we're going to see some crazy stuff in these last days, and we have to be vigilant and we have to be watchful. And whenever you're letting your mind wander about things like aliens, keep it in the confines of biblical truth. And it's important to do that. And the only way we can keep it in the confines of biblical truth is to know biblical truth. So we'll open up that book and start reading. Well, anyways, this is Kerry and with Prophecy Montana. If you guys would like to support this channel, you can give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe and consider sharing it as well. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.